So what is a still life? Well, it's a piece of artwork. It's usually a painting or a drawing, although artists get creative with kind of how they make them. Um, it's usually objects that are important to the artist, but sometimes we don't even know why. Traditionally, lots of fruit, lots of flowers, lots of household items that when we look at them, it doesn't mean anything, but in the time periods that these artists were creating, it might show their status, that they had enough money to have those objects, that they had enough money to buy fruit that didn't grow locally, or that they had a really awesome gardener. Um, Sometimes the objects were meant to remind the artist of somebody they cared about or about an important life lesson, like that life is fleeting. Often flowers meant, enjoy the moment because once you cut a flower, it's going to die. So all these objects usually were put on a table. But again, artists are creative. So we have some examples. So a flower in a pot sitting on a shelf with other flowers in a pot. Henri Matisse did a lot of flowers. He loved gardening, so that was important to him. Other artists, they're more hungry. So this artist had a watermelon. Watermelons, maybe they just like summer. We have musical instruments, okay? Hobbies. If you play an instrument, you might put your instrument in a still life. If you play a sport, maybe having that sports equipment makes more sense. I told you that artists get creative. Sometimes artists will put objects in different places. So instead of a table, on some rocks. Or Vincent van Gogh did this chair was like super important to him. So sometimes he would put things on the chair. He also did the old traditional flowers in a vase on a table. Irises and sunflowers, that was what he loved. And then modern artists that don't go with like traditional, very clear, realistic things, they might do something like this. Okay, it's very much in his style, his Roy Lichtenstein. He liked old comic books, and that kind of is where this inspiration came from. We have flowers on a table, but we also have a chair. He was inspired by Vincent van Gogh, and all of the things in this kind of allude to artists that inspired him. So when you make your still life, objects sitting on a table, that's great, but make sure it's meaningful to you, and if you want to play around with what a still life really is, then you can get creative with that.